Wow. Thank you, Rosemary. That was beautiful. Good morning, everyone. It's my pleasure to welcome you here to the Sarasota Center of Light, and I like to begin my talks with a little smile, if that's okay. Yes? And because this is my birthday week, I thought I would give myself special permission. That's not a joke. It's my birthday week. I have a whole week. And I thought I would. The gift to myself would be I get to tell my favorite joke. Is that okay with you? See, now I have permission, extra permission. A priest, a rabbi, and a minister had some very private time. They loved boating together. It was their special chance away from the congregations, away from the people. They got to go out and go fishing together alone on a boat. Just the priest, the rabbi, and the minister. So nice. They could talk about anything they wanted to without people listening or passing it on in different ways and getting creative with it. No, there was no one to listen. Oh, it was so wonderful to have this private, sacred time where they could just bond, fishing away in God's beautiful nature. They're out there and all of a sudden, enjoying God's nature. The priest says, you know what? We rarely get to vent what we need to get off our chest. And the other said, oh, I totally understand. And this, wouldn't it be nice, the priest said, wouldn't it be nice if we could just have a mini confession, just say whatever we feel bad or guilty about. Just get it off our chest and just do it right here amongst us brothers. And they all said, oh, that's a great idea. The rabbi raised his hand. I'll go first. Oh, you're so brave. Good for you. The rabbi says, I have this sin of internet gambling. And the others went, oh, that's so horrible. And he said, yes, it's true. Late at night, when no one's around, I go onto the internet and I do internet gambling. And they said, oh, it's so horrible. Oh, they all took a breather. So horrible. And the priest rallied his courage and he said, okay, I'll go next. The priest said, well, I have the sin of lust. Because next to me, the house next door, this sexy young blonde moved in. Oh, boy, she looks like a number, let me tell you. She looks pretty good. And the others thought, can't believe he's saying this. And that was, oh, can't believe it. What a horrible sin that was. The lust of the heart. They look over at the minister. And they said, come on, it's your turn. He sat there very quiet. Didn't open his mouth yet. They said, come on, brother, come on. This is a safe space. You can share here. Finally, the minister said, well, okay. I have the sin of gossip. And I can't wait to get off this boat to tell people what I've heard. That's my all-time favorite joke. I have a couple blonde ones, but some people take them personally. But I have special permission to tell blonde jokes whenever I want, but we'll save that for another day. Happy holidays, everyone. I am continuing over several weeks to share talks on the theme of our inner light. Last week we talked about the informing inner light. And we're trying to give physical, we're trying to give real life practical legs to that which is sometimes metaphysical and kind of abstract. Providing real-life legs to understand what is this light that we're talking about, maybe for 30 days. This light, every season, every Christmas, why do we put up the lights? Isn't this gorgeous? Can you stand it? Now, last week we applauded everyone who put it together, but a couple of them weren't here. So, if everyone had a part in decorating last week, would you raise your hand? Come on, you know who you are, and let's give them all an applause. How is it that in so many cultures, for thousands of years, they have given prominence to holidays where the central metaphor is light? The lighting of a candle, the placing of lighted candles on trees, the lighted candles of the menorah, as an access point to understand the miraculous. Why is it we talk about the informing light as we did last week, this inner light that is there to constantly inform who you are, to inspire with real life information of who you are. This week we're talking about the expanding light. How is your inner being, the inner light of who you are, how is it expanding? And I love the word flexibility. Because if Drew in my negativity is going to say I'm done, D-O-N-E, then I'm pretty much done. I have welcomed a self-imposed limitation to say I'm done. And in that doneness, that's good English, isn't it? In that doneness, how can I be flexible? We can't be done. We are eternally evolving beings. And so I would welcome first for you to welcome the idea that if we're going to be expanding into being bigger beings, expansive beings of light, welcome flexibility. For the first time in a long time, I am living alone. And it's so odd being from a large family and always having had roommates and partners and all kinds of living beings everywhere. It's so weird now to have a house and a yard and there's no one there. And I'll come into a room and I look around. And intellectually, I know that I'm living alone, but it's weird to walk. All these rooms are like empty. There's no beings. Well, for those of you who missed our gratitude party last night, the church had a gratitude party, which is what an amazing, can you stand it? What an amazing idea to have a party just on gratitude. And someone said, you mean a Christmas party? No, it's a gratitude party. It's about gratitude. Love it. And so last night there was a little debut at the gratitude party because as my birthday gift to Sarasota, I have adopted a puppy. And I've never raised a dog from puppy stage. I always somehow got dogs that were already dogs, you know. And this is a little tiny puppy thing. And it still looks like a guinea pig, but don't tell him that. Because he's listening. I chose him from a litter, and he's telepathic. And so as we know, sometimes that's a good thing, and sometimes it's not. Because the first night at my house was Friday night. Slept like a baby the whole night. I was like, oh, this parenting thing, this is really easy. Until 5 o'clock this morning. 5 o'clock this morning, he decided he was on his own schedule. He started to let me know through whines and talking and voicing his opinion that he wanted to go for a little walk. He was ready to play. Or he said, I think telepathically, he said that he'd heard the talks about feeling free to move about the cabin. And I was like, this ain't your cabin. And he goes, well, then I can stay up as long as I want. So I just thought, you know what? Sometimes it's easier to be flexible than it is to kind of impose your will on this other being. If they're acting like they have a mind of their own, you treat them that way, right? Right? So I'm trying to exercise flexibility. My expanding light kind of had to expand a little bit beyond the non-morningness of my being. And so I got up at 5 o'clock in the morning, took him out for a little walk. He sniffed the tangerines. I have a tangerine tree. The tangerines are just very entertaining for him for some reason. Well, at 5 o'clock in the morning, I was not very entertained. We began to have a little telepathy session. I said, now, there's something that you might not understand. I don't do mornings. And he looked at me like, I do. And I said, you know something, this is my house, and according to the law, it's mine. The dirt, the tangerine tree, the house, that sofa you like, it's mine. And he said, now wait a minute. The dogs are more evolved, I think, than they used to be. He's having this dialogue with. He says, "You understand that you've welcomed me in as the guest of the house." And I said, "Yes, maybe, but I'm the king of this house." And he said, "Well, as long as you treat me well, we're going to get along just fine." I said, "Okay, I think we can do that." And so now I have this opportunity to exercise something called flexibility. And I said to Spirit at 5:30, I said, you know, I'm already kind of flexible with 300 human beings every week. You really think I have to be flexible at home? Spirit said, yes. unlike the boat joke, this dog don't talk that much. And I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. So I have this beautiful reminder of flexibility in the house that doesn't really talk back with words, which is kind of a cool thing. And so I have this opportunity to use this as a reminder about this inner spark that if it's going to expand, folks, don't you think the inner being needs to expand beyond the boundaries? What limitations have you accepted from others that limit your light expanding? What is it you've accepted? A negative thought? A negative belief? A negative doubt? If you don't like the feeling of it, it's probably a negative thought or belief that didn't come from source. And from the God is there saying, there's a lot of freedom here to expand, move about the universe. Oh, years ago, this is probably 2,000 years old, there was an ancient myth that you probably heard, and I want to update it for you because some of you have already heard of it. And it's a myth that was talking about the gods had shared with humanity the spark of the divine. And when they figured out how powerful it was, humans began to fight about it. And the gods said, this isn't working very well. We better hide it. Well, where can we hide it? In the mountains? No, the humans are all over the mountains. In the ocean and over this lakes over, no, the humans are all over the place. They're pretty wise. They're always running around looking for things. One of the gods thought, we'll hide the spark of the divine inside them. For surely they won't look there. Kind of true. But realize this is a couple thousand years old, folks. It's not hidden anymore, is it? It's exposed. We're understanding this inner being that is expansive in its nature. That says, I will not accept your negative limitations. I will not accept a negative belief based on your rationale. No, I am free to expand beyond your limitations or negative beliefs I had been thinking. Last week we used the example on the heels of Nelson Mandela moving into spirit. We used the example of him looking at these cell walls of steel and concrete. The other logical, educated beings had said was fair justice for him. And him having to say to his inner being, I know what you're about. And I will not be judged based on someone else's negative thinking, based on even what you might call human law. No, my inner being is ready to expand beyond the concrete cell, which is temporary. And his persistent patience got him through 27 years of being temporary. That's a lesson all by itself. That nothing is forever. But everything is constantly changing. Right? And he held on to that expansive nature to say, you know what? I am becoming this expanding light beyond this concrete, beyond the judgments, beyond the temporary legal system, which is going to flex forward into being more just. And I'm going to be this beacon of light that's going to hold up this standard for millions and millions of people. And look what he began to do, even while being confined by other people who thought they had the legal right to do so. He began to forgive them. Flexibility entails moving beyond a negative attitude about resentment, revenge. Flexibility means you have the power to move beyond a negative hurt. It may not have been justified at all, but do you want to stay there? I'm going to flex forward and move beyond in forgiveness into the freedom And then he was able to move forward and say, wow, I'm expanding beyond the negativity. Oh, thank goodness 20 years came to an end. Now I have the opportunity to move forward, continuing with this light of freedom, to share this expanding light, to bring democracy, true democracy, not based on color or someone's prejudice. But I'm going to move forward in democracy, meaning I'm honoring the inner being of each person. He was embodying an attitude and perspective, and with his words, the essence of the Namaste meaning, which is to say, the inner being of me honors the inner being of you. Isn't that beautiful? But that takes flexibility, friends. It takes flexibility to say, I'm going to move beyond who I thought I was. I'm going to move beyond a negative attitude, and I'm going to step forward. Thank you, freedom. I'm going to step forward into a new, fresh territory. And that might be a little bit scary to the human being who says, no, this is my territory. This is my turf. Into saying, you know what? It's more fun to include other beings of light. It's more fun to move forward in freedom. And let this expanding nature of us that says, you know what? I can do all things with the power of God. And that nothing is impossible. Every single amazing spiritual teacher and guru has said the same thing. You can do all things with that power. One of my favorite words of wisdom is this: if you're going to walk on water, you have to get out of the boat. Don't you love it? If you're going to walk on water, do miraculous and wonderful and seemingly illogical things, you have to get out of the boat. Doesn't that feel good? Step into the unknown. Step into that place of trust that says, I can do all things with the power of God. That may mean freedom and forgiveness. I held on to one grievance. It was well justified. You know what those are? The well justified grievances? I could form a committee on this. I could take it to a judge and say, look at the offenses. We could legally document this. I could. My mind in certain times goes into the lawyer mode. And against one human being that I knew in past years, I could write up a legal case of judgments against this person, and any judge on the planet would be like, you are justified. You are justified in holding a grievance against that human. But you know what? I found no solace in that. No. Me being right or be the offended party? No. There was no freedom in that. There was no future in that. There was no love in that. No love in that. There was no love in that. Sometimes it's the loving part of who we are that has been offended or hurt the most. Isn't that true? Can I get a yes? But if we're going to use that hurt love in our inner being as the part that was offended, my friends, we can use that love also, that love, that essence of who you are, as the open door possibility to say, oh, and now I'm going to forgive and move on. Let me flex forward. Yeah, flex forward after some forgiveness. Yesterday I received a text from that person that I forgave 10 years ago. The text only said two things. Happy birthday. I'm your number one fan. You love that? Gives me goosebumps. Because I opened up a new possibility for both of us in the expanding relationship, but also for Drew, for me, myself, and I gave myself, right? I gave myself an open door forward to move from a stuck place that didn't feel so great into a better feeling place that felt like freedom, that felt like I was going to be flourishing forward. Oh. And so think of how many situations, just as an empowering thought this morning, if you could flex forward from a negative place. It's only a step. If it feels scary, good. Take it one little step at a time. Imagine the possibility. Imagine saying, I forgive you. Imagine saying, I love you. It gets more comfortable over time. My first congregation that I served in San Francisco in the 90s, I come from a non-effusive family where hugs and saying I love you is kind of rare, and it took me a few years to kind of ease into just telling the congregation I love you, even though the whole ministry was about love. Isn't that a funny thing that we're anyone relate to this? Say yes. And so there, after a few years of ministry, I finally flexed forward to a place of comfort to say, I love you. And I could say it like from my heart, I love you. And so, I love you. And so, by being able to be brave enough, if you will, just little by little, we can say it in our mind before we say it to the human. No risk. I love you. I love you. And so now, my brother became a minister too, and he had to ease into the love thing too. Can you believe it? Of all people. And so now it's become a more common thing in our family to say, I love you. I love you. And the parents didn't set the tone. The kids kind of got it on a roll. Now it's become more normal. But it can spill out the blessings. They spill out. They move about. They expand. They will not be withheld. That inner being that began as a spark and then began to move out into the universe of you as you create whatever you want is having a positive effect with you and with you. It's feeling the freedom of loving you and you. The negatives are behind. Expansion is moving forward. I invite you during this season of light for another few weeks, expanding, welcoming the expansive nature of who you wanted to be when you came here. Does that feel good? Say yes. If you're ready for even a few more weeks of talking about you expanding, would you like to say yes? And if you'd like to talk nice to your inner being and say, I love you, will you say, I love you? Thank you. God bless.